everyone, Ivy League Gaming here, and today we're playing Dragonheir Silent Gods. For today's video, I'm going to do a top 6 defensive support type hero list. Let's talk about the best people that help keep your team alive. Alright, yes, defensive support heroes, not just not your debuffers, not your tanks. I'm talking about the heroes that are considered support, but specifically help your allies directly, as in heals, dispelling debuffs, cleansing, putting up protective buffs, reducing your damage, that sort of thing. Shields, you know. That's what we're going to talk about for this video. We're going to narrow it down and pick just the best from each element, and I think this is really helpful because in a lot of cases, you're not going to need more than one in a team. Most of the time, you're going to have a good tank that is also doing that job. I really hate tanks like Horus that are more selfish, that are just a good tank. But I guess he helps himself stay alive. But, you know, I like the people that help your whole team stay alive, like Furboth, like Garius, Isolde, I much prefer. But hey, Horus is free. He's actually very good for other stuff. But you know what? The tank discussion is for another video. Today we're just going to talk about the support type heroes that help your allies. Oh wait, but before we get into it, we do have a word from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Dungeon Hunter 6, the latest edition of the Dungeon Hunter franchise. Since 2009, the series has been expanding, and this is the newly anticipated version, and we promise it was worth the wait. Dungeon Hunter 6 is a fantasy-style hero collector ARPG with hack-and-slash style combat. Super fun, you can have various builds, use your skills, and utilize them to fight bosses. It's free to play, so be sure to download now to check it out. Use the link in the description or the pinned comment or the QR code on the screen. One of the coolest things about this ARPG is that killing a boss, it's not just about that. You can actually make the bosses serve you. They can follow you, join your squad. You can summon up to 3 of them to join your battle. These bosses you can loot, ride, and even fly them. In late game, you can even shapeshift into them to harness their true potential. I've never seen a game quite do that before, and I think it's a really unique aspect. With over 100 bosses to choose from, you can have a really unique addition to your roster. And every month, new classes and units are added, so even more fun can be had for endless potential. There's a lot of creative gameplay elements in Dungeon Hunter 6. For example, you can even turn into a cat and go on a stealth mission, which I think is super fun and creative. And it's actually inspired by a real-life cat. And with better graphics than ever before, Dungeon Hunter 6 brings you stunning 3D visuals, super smooth on a mobile device, allowing you to multicast and really enjoy those creative skill animations. There's a lot of other features too, like playing with your guild mates in a real-time guild wars. There's even a variety of skill tree options so you can test builds and really experiment with your characters. There's also an auction system that allows you to even trade items in-game. So if all this sounds fun to you, be sure to download the game now. The link is in the description and the pinned comment, and you can also scan the QR code that you see on the screen if you're watching this from a PC. Download now on Android and iOS. Oh, and there's even a really great starter pack if you use my link worth $50. You'll get 10 summoning scrolls, and even 1 SSR Lieutenant, Demonic Wolf, plus an accessory pack. Use your in-game account to enter the Lucky Spin event for free to win great prizes like an iPhone 15 Pro Max, PS5, Apple Watch, and more starting October 15th. Check out the description for details. And let's start off with Adolphus for the fire element. So Adolphus is a very great supportive healing and shielder type hero. So his passive, if the target already has a shield when the hero grants them a shield, additionally heals them equal to 75% of the shield granted. So if they have a shield already from him or from someone else, he's going to heal them every time he tries to place a shield. So that's really, really helpful. Extra healing, you really want that in a team. There's a lot of cool heroes that they may not have healing as their main utility, but extra healing added on with others is just a huge, huge bonus. So his battle skill grants a 10% target max HP and 2080% enlightenment shield to an ally for 10 seconds, increasing their ultimate energy as well. So this is a great boost on a battle skill to help someone come back to their ultimates more often and protect them with a shield. And then with the ultimate skill, deals 450% attack and 3,200% enlightenment fire damage to enemies within range, and then grants a 15% target's max HP plus 3,150% enlightenment shield to all allies. So he's really fun because not only does he just help protect your team by giving you a nice big fat shield, but you can build him with attack and enlightenment, especially an enlightenment focus really for this guy. And he's actually going to pump out some damage along with it on his ultimate. I really love when a hero can be versatile and be more than just a support, when they can bring a little bit of everything to the table. And he actually brings some damage along with all this shields and protection and for your team. So keep that in mind. He's also going to do really well if there's other healers on your team, or sorry, other shielders on your team, to put up heals more often. And keep in mind, as fire, he's the only one that does that. So, I mean, like, our adventurer, when you want them to be fire, you want them to do damage. And sometimes you have to make your adventurer ice just to have shields to help protect your team. But if you have a Dolphus, you can have, this will allow you to have protection and let your fire, poison, synergy all shine and not have to have that ice element just to help keep people alive. So he's a really, really good hero, and I hope I get one soon. All right, number 2 here, we're going to call out Vikuk. So the poison element heroes have very good support. We have Sifris, that is a healer and reviver, although she sacrifices her own HP, so she needs another healer with her to keep her alive. We have Garion, who is all about heals, but Vikuk just has such a cool kit. He's kind of an offensive and a defensive support hero. By offensive support hero, I mean he applies debuffs to the enemy that hinder them, and often helps your team to do more damage, or sometimes take less damage as well, I guess. And that's part of it too, making him a defensive support hero. But we're going to talk about debuffers in a separate category, but he's kind of both. He brings this accuracy penalty here. When the hero is inflicted with a debuff, and there's a 100% chance of placing an accuracy penalty on the debuff caster for 5 seconds. Every time he gets hit with a debuff, you're going to have every 5 seconds, or 4 or 5 seconds. And then boom, you're going to get a chance to place an accuracy penalty 2, reducing that target's accuracy by 50%. That's huge. And then we have this attack penalty 2 on his battle skill with a 100% chance to land with an AoE effect. So that's amazing alone. But what makes him more what I would call a defensive support hero is this. It's his ultimate. Dispels 2 debuffs from all allies and heals them by 15% of the target's max HP. For each debuff successfully dispelled on the ally, the healing on that ally is increased by 25%. So the more debuffs he dispels, the more he's going to heal them. And dispelling 2 debuffs instead of 1 is huge. There's so many areas where you're going to have multiple debuffs on you, or they just keep coming at you. Like Grave of Rot, for example, I guess. But there's definitely going to be other examples I could give. And yeah, he is very good, especially if you want multiple dispellers in your team. He's definitely one you want to have. If you have him as an option, I can't imagine not using him. And yeah, I mean, attack penalty too is very important for keeping your team alive. So huge debuff. But I feel like talking about the attack penalty 2 and the debuffs that people bring to the table is a little bit of a different conversation, because there's so many important debuffs in a battle, and I kind of want to talk about those heroes separately, but he kind of falls into both of what I want to talk about today. Our buffers, healers, supportive heroes. All right, next up, we're going to talk about Nathaniel. I will give a nod to Yudhikatal here. Really cool hero, really interesting kid. I think there's some wonderful potential with her, our little tunnel non-clone lizard. But let's talk about Nathaniel. So for the lightning element, Nathaniel brings an aura attack for all allies by max HP of 24% in all battles. And then his passive, when a buff expires or is dispelled from any target on the field, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 5% max HP. This effect can only be triggered every 1 second. So every second he could be healing allies if buffs are dispelled or expired. That's really cool. That's a ton of extra healing, I'm sure. Depending on your battle and depending on what's going on, this could be massive extra heals. And it's based on his max HP, not your target, which is really cool. And I love his battle skill. This is my favorite part about him. Dispels 1 debuff from all allies within range and grants them 1 stack of recovery over time. So, a battle skill that you come back to more often. Like, okay, Enna dispels a debuff from all allies on her ultimate, but he does on his battle skill. So, or within range, just like her. This is huge. Like, how often he can come back to this. He's definitely the kind of hero I would put, like, I think is it the candle that makes you come back to your battle skill more often as an artifact. He is really, really good. This is such a good battle skill. It got to be one of the top cleansers in the game just for this reason alone. Just for the fact that it's a battle skill and can help most all allies depending on your formation. It's just huge. And then his ultimate here is pretty cool. He brings some damage. 550% attack, lightning damage to enemies within range, and grants a target max HP and 1800% enlightenment and defense up 1 to all allies for 10 seconds. Each enemy hit by the skill, the shield is increased by 10%. So that's really interesting. Each enemy hit. So the more enemies he hits with his ultimate as damage, the bigger he's going to shield your team. It's just a really cool, quirky kit. And I feel like he's got to be a top tier option as part of any lightning team synergy. All right, number 4, we're on to our Radiant. I'm going to call it Catherine, of course. She's our former skin of Hexandra, but improved and glowing. She's kind of a boosted version of Hexandra in some ways, although Hexandra certainly has her uses where she's better, like Ancient Battlefield. But let's talk about Catherine. So we have Glorious Blessing. When the ally's HP is fully restored, 50% of the extra healing from the hero is converted into a shield. That's really helpful. And then we have a battle skill that heals the ally with the lowest HP by 15% of the target's max HP and 2500% enlightenment, and grants the ally defense up 2 for 5 seconds. That is awesome as well. Really, really helpful. Just a nice big heal. It's very similar again to Hexandra, but adding in the defense up. And same thing here. This is very similar to Hexandra, but adding in debuff immunity. So this one heals all allies within range by 10% of the target's max HP and 2500% enlightenment, and grants them debuff immunity. So debuff immunity will prevent them from getting any of those red debuffs, poisons, defense penalty, defense or attack penalty. But remember that control effects are purple. Those are like stuns and crowd control type things. So that does not count. Those are different. But debuffs, that's just so many areas where we could really, really use that. I really would love to have more debuff immunity heroes on my account. Not so sure I have many, and Catherine I do not have yet. So hoping I pull her as well. All right, and for the ice, I'm actually going to call out for number 5, a damage dealer, Voresh. Voresh does everything too. I was like, Vika kind of does everything. You know what? Voresh does everything. So we already know Voresh has this amazing ultimate. You know, he prevents buffs from the enemy, does damage AoE that hits 3 times, big damage out the whole board. And he also removes buffs with his battle skill and deals more damage. Oh, but then his passive, he heals like crazy. Heals the ally with the lowest HP by 70% attack when dealing damage. This effect will only be triggered once when dealing damage to multiple enemies or targets. So every time he attacks, basic attack, battle skill, ultimate, he's always going to heal someone. That is awesome. Like, it doesn't sound like much at first with like 70% attack, but that's going to happen constantly. Every attack, he's just going to keep healing. So he's really fun because he can be in your team, and you could have someone like him and Zarloth, which I'll give an honorable mention to because he kind of has the same idea, where both of them have this little extra passive heal to help your team, but they're incredible damage dealers as well. And amazing, amazing support of, like, he gives crowd control and debuffs and everything you could ask for too, and hits really hard. I love this character. If you have both of them in your team, you might not even need extra healing, depending maybe if, especially if you have a tank or shields or heal, like, you know, a little extra something pretty good for support. You might not even need any healing, a proper healer with people like that in your team. That's what's really cool. Or at least, again, especially if you have a tank like Furboth to keep those people getting the most damage alive. Yeah, it's just so good. And I really love that Voresh is kind of a jack of all trades. All right, and last but not least, I think we're going to call out Thea for number 6 and for the necrotic element. So she brings an accuracy aura in all dungeon battles. 50, that's huge. That can help you not have to put on like an accuracy chest maybe, if that's enough to just get you to where you need to be. She also grants invisibility to the hero herself when taking damage higher than 10% of the max HP. In addition, allies under invisibility take 50% less damage. So she gives invisibility to allies, to all ranged allies. So all ranged allies get invisibility debuff and immunity. So everyone except for a tank, I guess. Which, I mean, I guess she can't be a tank. She's ranged too. But yeah, that's really, really cool. So she's going to help to give them damage mitigation. And that's amazing. And she applies debuff immunity. So it's like she just kind of does everything with support there, which I really, really love. And then she also deals damage at the same time and can put up healing prohibition on an enemy. So wonderful, wonderful skill there. And not 100% though, but I really love her for the sake of this debuff immunity to ranged allies. It's just really cool to help keep some of your other units alive, especially ones that might be a little squishier. And then we have her battle skill that heals the ally with the lowest HP and all allies with invisibility by 200% attack and 2000% enlightenment. Each ally can be healed 1 time per cast. So I feel like she's amazing to go with someone like, I want to say when a necrotic and poison are together, right? If Furboth is your tank and he's only healing the enemies within range, which is like the melee units, she's gonna take care of the ranged units in the back that Furboth can't hit. You know, that's a good example. Or any of the other, like I think some of the other melee damage dealing healers like Kaleido that have that sort of heal, but only for who's around them. She's gonna help cover the ranged ones that are hanging in the back to have lots of protection. So really, really good hero. I think a fun option. And I will give an honorable mention to Estella. She's kind of the Necrit of this game. She protects one hero specifically. So it's a little bit more niche. And you can kind of rig it, I think. Because it does say like protecting the hero with the lowest HP at the beginning of battle. I think that's how it's worded, right? How is it? Yeah, at the start of combat, the hero with the lowest HP. So you can rig it to make sure she's protecting the marked hero. Like you can make sure a certain hero is marked by making sure they have the lowest HP. Yeah, I love that. It's a really cool character, but a bit more niche, so I feel like Thea can help a little bit more than just Estella with one hero protected. But that's the list, guys. I hope this was helpful. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.